Everyone, please stand. I call the Erwin Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting in order, Monday, June the 26th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Alderwoman Wilcox Vaughn will say the invocation, and Chief Tilson will lead us in the pledge to our flag. Alderwoman.
If you will please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today to serve this wonderful community that we live in. Lord, we just pray that the decisions we make will reflect the will that you got us to. Lord, we pray for each and every person who's here and all those who are not. We pray for guidance, direction, and your ultimate wisdom, Lord, in the decisions that we make. Thank you for everything that you've given us. We just praise you for everything that you do. In your name I pray. Amen.
Chief Tilson.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Here.
Michael Baker. Here. Mayor White.
Here.
Paula Edwards.
Present.
Mickey Hatcher.
Here.
Kathy Huskins.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to number 4, in your package being the members of the approved, we approved the minutes from our previous meeting on May the 22nd. It's a regular meeting. Those minutes are in your packets. Are there any discussions on those minutes? Do I have a motion for approval? Okay, Dr. Hatcher second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Citizens, at this time, we open the floor up to the citizenry to come and address the BMA on the issues that they would like for us to hear. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address the BMA? Please come forward. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Are there any other reports from the members of this board or other officers that would like to speak to this BMA at this time? Any other reports? BMA?
Mayor,
Yes,
this Friday, and I've notified everybody on the board, but just so the public is aware, Congresswoman Harshbarger will be here Friday at Town Hall at 11 a.m. She's going to be doing a special presentation to the former Dr. Monroe. His daughter, Ms. Carol Tilson, will be receiving those awards on behalf of the Congresswoman. So it is open to the public, and the media will be here, WJHL and WCW, so hopefully you all can be here. The only other thing that I had was the TML conference, Tennessee Municipal League. Our annual conference is July 22nd to the 25th in Nashville. So excellent opportunity to earn CMFO credit and just network throughout the state. So if you would like to join, just let me know. I'd be glad to help you get registered for that.
I will add, any others that want to attend that, what is that, July the 23rd to the 25th, is that correct? Would you see Miss Moon there? She'll get the reservation and all the necessary finances that we need to go to that, those of us who are going. Okay, with that being said, any other issues that would like to be front?
Yes, I have issues.
Okay.
On the Erwin record, May 20th of 2023, the first reading of the budget was published. The Johnson City Press, I have May the 15th of 2023. I have a canceled meeting on June the 12th of the BMA. No budget has been passed at this time. I think that we owe it to the community members to set a work session to review the budget with the city reporter and this BMA. July 10th seems to be a long time to wait for now until then to look at this budget, because we had it already completed as a board in May. So I would like to just raise the concerns to the other board members, because we haven't had a work session, because I didn't receive an email about this meeting until late last week. I'm thinking it was June the 21st, but I can go back to my email and look that up. I just want to know what the thoughts are on the work session and on addressing the budget not being passed.
Okay. If I were
always probably have some disappointment not getting the budget passed. I don't know the necessity of a work session because of everything that's in place that we need. It's it's unfortunate that you're in the situation now because, you know, some of us are planning vacations, they're running out for those dates. And it's been pushed back to the point where it's going to interfere. I'm not sure whether we have a quorum in order to pass that budget, but obviously we will not get it passed in a time frame that will be recognized by the state.
So can we not do a call meeting for the budget? These are my questions. I feel like without input and without talking, amongst ourselves and talking, through the city recorder, on the platform, like we do not have the information of why we didn't look at like a called work session or an emergency BMA meeting to look at the budget. Like it automatically moved to July 10th after a budget deadline was missed for early submission.
We have 2 missed budget deadlines.
Right. That's my question.
On call meetings to the board, though, maybe we need to ask the board for clarification. If we have a call meeting, we still have to notify. Right. It has to be so many days in the paper and all that.
They just changed it to a 48-hour notice to where you can do that on the website. And
It
that
was
will
24, we changed it to 48. But
that came
let me
out
understand,
email.
do we wanna do a work session first? Do we wanna do a work session this week or next week? And with the city recorder to determine what was changed, and discuss it. And then, call a special call, get the budget passed?
Budget, not what we already had.
I mean, has it been changed? I don't know. I don't have the updates. So I think I'm coming from more of a question.
I'd be happy to send that update to you. So everything that we agreed on for fiscal year 23-24 is the same.
So it hasn't been changed at all since May the 20th?
The fiscal year 23-24 has not been changed.
So we just cannot, so the submission and the public notifications is why the deadline's been missed.
That's correct.
Okay. So, but that would be everyone else's opinion at this point.
Well, if Mr.
If
Moses,
we can pass it sooner, then I'd say we not do it.
if Mr. Moses went on record saying it's not been changed, then, I could call a special call for Thursday.
I want to request a paper printed copy of what you have.
Yes.
Because for myself personally, before I vote on something, I want to know the details. That way I can compare it to the one that I was looking at with the other city recorder, the one I looked at with the BMA, and then I will look at the final one.
I think what she's asking is are the line items the same as what they were in the first one?
For fiscal year 23-24, all the line items are the same.
But I want to see it myself, so I just want to request a physical printed copy.
Did you put the $3,607 back in the solid waste?
So for the projected end of this fiscal year, which is in 4 days, we had incorrectly listed that we were leaving some funds in solid waste, which isn't proper accounting for the end of this fiscal year that ends in 6 days. Every line item for 23-24 is the same.
Wasn't that, and I'm trying to,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to interrupt there.
I'm trying to understand.
I cannot imagine Todd leaving us a budget that was incorrect. I know that he went through MTS and left that budget with them to get approved, and it was approved. So I don't like shifting blame to somebody who's no longer here because he had the budget ready. We voted on that budget.
From what I gathered, the $3,600 that was in the line item was for the last payment of this month, which ends in June the 30th. Have you received the last payment from Waste Management?
I'm unable to say right now. I don't have that information, but there was an expense that we're going to accrue. We would need to list that as an expense in our account.
So how are you going to pay for the last month of this year with solid waste? Where's that money going to come from?
So it's all actually in a single fund. It's all in general fund.
Or the fund balance? Is it fund balance? Or the general fund?
It's the general fund.
Okay, it's in the general fund. So
Both of these items, this is all general fund.
So it moved from waste management to the general fund.
So it doesn't move. It's all a single account.
but you moved, but
Okay, the line item was taken out.
the line item is taken.
Right.
Okay. Why did you take the line item out?
So we were listing, funds in there that we weren't going to be accounting for in the general fund. We were showing that we were moving too much money from the general fund to this solid waste.
I had talked to Mr. Wilcox about that, and he told me that he had got to Mr. Martin, Waste Management, and that they did a CPI index, and that they estimated as closely as they could that the last month of June, the last payment of the year would be around $3,667. So, okay, my problem is, and I'll go on record stating it, is that you moved it without telling anyone. And you moved it without telling anyone. Or, I'm not a budget expert, but when I look at the 22nd budget, on May 22nd, we passed the budget, and it had in that line item $3,667. So I look into this budget that you put into the urban record, that number's not there. So how can you say it's not changed?
So all of the money is still in the general fund.
But it wasn't in the general fund on the 22nd, was it, sir?
It was incorrectly listed as solid waste, that we were moving too much towards.
So we passed a first reading of a budget that was incorrect, and then Ty said, let us know.
It didn't follow generally accepted accounting principles
Yes.
that we're required to follow based on the comptroller.
Let me intervene. If you have a budget, you're never gonna have your expenditures come out precisely right for what you have budgeted in those line items. Otherwise, all your line items will zero at the end of the year. So it sounds like all you did was shift to make a zero in that, which wasn't really necessary, but it was done. So that doesn't change the amount of physical money that we have. And it doesn't, unless you did every single item that way. I mean, just like taxes, for example, we budget based on projections. If those projections don't follow, you have a shortfall, you have to move money into another source in order to get that. But when you budget, you're not gonna expend every single dime in every single line item. There's always gonna be excess, and that money at the end of the fiscal year should go into the general fund, so that all those accounts zero out. Does that make sense?
That's correct, yes, sir.
It's just that it held us up. We're a month.
So does that bring us back to the first reading now?
It does not.
It does not, okay.
Since the budget for the next fiscal year.
I want to be clear that I'm just trying to understand.
It's really nothing. I mean, it's really not something that should be upsetting to everyone.
No, I think
So
the
we went
most
from
upsetting
May
thing is not getting
20th
passed.
to June 26th because we can't, for the submissions and public notifications, just to a newspaper.
Yes, the submission of who we are donating to has to be posted in the paper and that listed, foundation and listed that correctly. I
And there was
apologize.
one included in there that no longer exists.
That was a minor item.
Right.
And then we,
I understand that the submission was an older submission that was there forever. Okay. I guess there's just errors in the So where do we want to move from here? That's my actual question. Into a work session, into a budget meeting?
The budget has not changed. To me, a work session is not necessary.
But July 10th just seems too far for me.
I agree.
That's why I'm asking the question I'm asking.
That's very fair. I'll consult with the mayor to come up if we can do an emergency.
let's just do it now. Let's just talk about it now. I can call one right now, and you do it in 48 hours. We can do it Thursday. Can anybody meet Thursday?
I can do it.
Can everybody meet
As long
Thursday?
as it's after 4:30. But
Well,
Ron's
Mr.
just,
Seeley can help me.
Mr. Seeley, can you?
I don't, we had a 10-day notice requirement with the budget.
Oh, we do?
I believe that.
And with the notice.
Oh, that's
to-
correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
it has to.
Yeah, you gotta have 10 days notice.
Okay, that's right.
Has it been running in the meantime?
I don't know, that's the.
Budget, yes,
So we have-
the notice of who we're donating.
Comes out
to.
tomorrow. Comes out tomorrow.
So again, you've got to go 10
That's
days,
right.
so the July 10th was the notice that was going out tomorrow. So I don't think you can make a decision tonight.
You can. Well, you know, I take responsibility for it because I'm the chief officer of the government, and the responsibility is mine. And so I take responsibility for this. I would like to say that, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, I'm just going to be honest. I am dissatisfied with Mr. Muller's performance. I am. I asked him when he informed me on the 7th that we were not going to be able to do the budget because he did not put the notice in the paper. I asked him to inform the BMA, which he did not. And then last week, the nonprofits came out and they were wrong. That delayed it again. And so I am dissatisfied, and I want to be honest about that. Also, so I'll leave it at that. So, according to, but I will take full responsibility. I am the mayor. I should have been more observant. With that being said, with what Mr. Seeley has said, we have to do the 10-week notice that comes out on the 28th.
If you've already notified them the 10th, I say that way the notification's already in, let's just go ahead.
Just go to it on the 10th.
Know that, why change that? It's, if we're gonna have to change that.
So, that's just-
It'd be just 1 or 2 days difference.
Well, understanding the new information, it makes sense, but July 10th from May 20th is a very long time.
Okay, with that being said, we know that the notice will come out in this paper around 10 days, which will be July the 8th, and then we'll have our regular meeting on the 10th, and we'll pass the second reading, and it should be done. Is there any other issues that will come in front of the board at this time? We move on. Any other issues? Okay, with that being said, let's move on. I have no communications from this office at this time. Moving on to 8.1, we have one of our just wonderful citizens of Erwin and Unicoi County who we love, Miss Lois Schultz. She is going to do a presentation for us. So, Miss Schultz, would you come to the podium, please?
I will.
Thank you, ma'am.
Some of you, this is sort of a reprise of when I was here the last time and spoke to you. And it's really, I guess, not my presentation, but I appreciate you taking it up again and looking at it a little bit more. I was here a few months back with Ms. Laverne Craig. She is representative of the Safe Haven Baby Boxes program. And I've tried to continue to share information beyond what we shared at the last meeting. We kind of pulled back, learning in the April meeting, I guess, that you all were working on your budget and looking at all these hard things you have to put together with the numbers. We just wanted to give you all an opportunity to look at that and consider what you have in this, what we think is a very worthy program. Understanding that there was not anything put in the budget with regard to funding this project. Ms. Craig is very good at this and very experienced at it, worked on this, and I worked on it some, and so we wanted to come back and ask you again for the permission to place a baby box in Erwin at the Erwin Fire Station. There's a good bit of work that goes on beyond the permission of the board to do it if you all see fit to do that. And we worked on some of that with the fire chief and taken a look at the facility. And it seems to be an excellent location in that there's an area where you can go behind the fire station building. There's very easy access there. It's not one that's particularly monitored, has some cameras that I know of, or that the folks at the fire station were aware of. And there's already a great window there that a baby box will fit right in. And then from there, it plugs in, and it's just a great place for a baby that's in trouble and a family that has problems with rearing the child to be able to put that child there. And so I'm going to call on Ms. Craig in a minute to make further remarks about that, but we have been able to arrange for the funding for the baby box in Erwin, and so I think it's a great thing for this location. Her family has sort of had the opportunity, you may have seen in the news, that through her efforts, principally, Knoxville was the first place in Tennessee that placed one of these. It takes somewhere around 2 to 3 months, maybe 4, to work out the contractual agreements and all the legal things that have to be done. I've already spoken with Mr. Seeley a little bit about what would be necessary there to make that happen. and we'll be proud to work with him on that. But what happens from here, if you all see fit to allow a baby box to be placed there, we will make the arrangements for the baby box. The folks who organized this nationwide to be aware of it and to be involved in that process. And what was so wonderful that was achieved in Knoxville was that 99 days after that baby box was dedicated, the first baby was placed in it. So a life was saved for the investment of this situation. Otherwise, that child could have died, could have been abandoned in bad circumstances, or could have, which is what we see so much in the court system, gone into the system in a way that its life was going to be one of litigation over and over and over. Instead, because of principally the efforts of these folks back here behind me, that child went into its forever home within 2.5 weeks, which is a much better start in life than, as I said, the horrible thing that could happen, or years and years and years of litigation and problems and all the things that are attendant with that in terms of life risk and the ability to be a good, productive, healthy citizen. So we are asking, I'll summarize, that Erwin see fit to be, you would now be in third place because there's one that's gone online in another town in the meantime, but third place, this resource can be available in the community. We know that with changes in the law in Tennessee statewide, there are going to be more of these situations that need to be attended to. One of the things that Safe Haven Baby Boxes says that I really like is no shame, no blame, no names. What this is really about is having an additional resource that stands in the middle of the great debate and divide in our country, which we know so much about, pro-choice versus pro-life, and provides a way for a baby to be saved and to be cared for in a better, more expeditious way. So what we're asking y'all for is permission, number one. Secondly, the opportunity to use that space back there, and the firemen and fire chiefs seem to be behind that. We would ask that someone in your maintenance staff do the framing it around it and make sure that it's secure. It seems like it'll be almost a perfect fit, but the basic things that have to be done with that. And then there's a 911 connection fee and also some fees related to checking on it and making sure that it remains safe. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. It seemed like a really fast turnaround time. That child was adopted and spoke of.
The one in Knoxville, it went to its forever home in 2.5 weeks.
Special laws concerning that on abandonment?
Yes,
why that works that way?
I have not researched the law completely and how it intersects with other laws in the state of Tennessee. But the Safe Haven law, which was passed, I think I shared with y'all last time I was here in the early 2000s, did not have the anonymity with it that this does. The law in Tennessee was changed to allow that anonymity that is achieved through something like the Safe Haven baby boxes. And so that then, in turn, those changes in the law allow for a much quicker, safe and permanent arrangement for the child. I can't see anything bad about it.
Can I ask you a question? What about the liability for the town of Erwin and the person who's actually transporting the baby? Like, what if, God forbid, the baby dies on the way to the hospital, or the fire car wrecks and kills the baby? Where does the liability fall with that?
I'm going to let Ms. Craig speak to that because she's got more experience with this. She's also got the law in her hands here.
We always get that question. The liability, you're already under liable because the state of Tennessee, when they enacted the Safe Haven baby law in Tennessee in the year 2000, fire departments, hospitals, and any kind of, like if you have a health clinic here, like a clinic that's run by the state, all of those are Safe Haven locations. And a baby could be laid at your doorstep at any time, 24 hours a day. So you already have liability, whether, with this, though, whenever we do a contract with the city or county that we work with, there's usually, the city usually, or the county usually has some kind of liability insurance that they carry. And we just attach that to the contract. It's really pretty, I have like a template of a contract that we did in the city of Knoxville, and that's really what we have other cities now that are in motion to do this. I have lots of baby box cities that are in motion right now. And that's what we're using, is that template with the city of Knoxville. And that's what they did. They just used their regular liability insurance that they already had, and that protected their people that work at the fire departments.
I have a question too. Yes, would a hospital, why is a hospital not a drop-off point instead of the
They
fire
are.
department? They are, so it could be at the hospital we have?
It could be, but the reason we do fire departments is because, whenever you do them at a hospital, we've come to realize you have to go through the Joint Commission and a lot of red tape in order to get it into a hospital. Wow. They used to do those in a hospital a long time ago, but that has kind of, they really don't do those much anymore. It's pretty much all at fire departments now. Whenever, and let me explain to you a little bit about what happens, and this will make it maybe a little bit, I know I showed y'all a video that you may not even remember last time, that how the baby box worked, but to tell you a little bit, whenever a baby whenever a woman or a man comes up with a baby and they open the door to the baby box, there's an orange bag there that is for the mother. It says very clearly on the bag, for mom. And that has in there her rights, for the safe haven law in Tennessee, which is 30 days. She has 30 days to change her mind. Once she puts the baby in the box and locks the door, she has 30 days if she decides to change her mind. Or she'd have to prove it's her baby, and she would have to go through a lot of hoops to probably get it back. But, that's the way that works. She has 30 days in the state of Tennessee. These are usually babies that are up to 14 days old. I guess if a baby was placed in there and was 15 days old, I don't think they would reject it, and I don't think they would even know if it was 15 days old. How would you even know, And when that happens, when the door is open, the baby's placed in there, there is, once the box is placed in there and the security system is placed in, there is a beam that goes across there. When that beam is broken, it notifies the fire department, it notifies 911, and it notifies the fire chief. So, and you say, oh, well, what happens if they're out on a call and there's a baby placed in the box? We always get that question. Well, the neat thing about that is that 911 is always going to call somebody, and they're going to be right back to the fire station. Somebody's going to come back to the fire station. The longest a baby's ever been in a box is 4 minutes. The one in Knoxville was in there for less than 2 minutes. When he was placed in the box, he was 30 minutes old. The placenta and the cord was still attached to that baby. So he was very newborn, and so whenever the alarms start going off, they wait 45 seconds in order to give the mother time to get away. So in that orange bag that she gets when she opens the door, it does have her rights. It has information in there about what she can do, things she needs to look out for herself, because most of these babies are home births or backseat of the car births or whatever. So, they're a wonderful thing. We do have the funding secured, $11,000 to buy the box for here in Erwin. So the money, that's secured. You don't have to worry about that anymore. That's it. Like I said, there is a $300 maintenance fee for yearly, and there is, maintenance for the security system, which is like $90 a quarter or something like that. It depends on who you use for your security stuff. But that's it.
All right, any questions?
Do you have any comments, Tom?
I think the two things that the Alderman pointed out would be the two concerns I have is that, again, you would have potential liabilities on the town once the baby was dropped off, and until the baby is transported, dropped off at the hospital. It's my understanding that's what the fireman would have to do, is take the baby to the hospital. And so I think it's a valid point. Sort of makes us the middleman in that, and we would have liability during that time. Again, about the benefit of having the baby box at the hospital, because that's where ultimately the child will be transferred to. I think the two concerns that y'all pointed out would be my two concerns.
I guess what happens when 911 is called, when the baby is placed in the box, they automatically call the rescue squad. I don't know what you call it here, it's rural metro in Knoxville. They come to the station and they pick up the baby there. The first responder rides in the ambulance with them to the hospital, and in that time frame, Department of Children's Services is called. They meet at the hospital and they take guardianship immediately as soon as that baby walks in the door. It's no longer a part. No one has liability then. It belongs to the state. So.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a point about the hospital versus the fire hall?
Okay.
There's a reason that we're asking fire halls, and it's not just because it's easier. Ms. Craig referred to the red tape. That's not really the reason. We've had a safe haven baby law in Tennessee since the early 2000s. That didn't meet the need, because these folks want to maintain anonymity. That's much, much harder to do in a hospital, and they know that. Where the need is, and where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, is when a young man in a situation can go to a place where he knows his identity, his connection, her connection with this situation is protected. That's the reason it needs to be a fire hall. And it has to be, by safe haven baby box standards, it has to be a fire hall that is, such as the town of Erwin's is, that you have staff, that you have people there. So that's the reason why Erwin Fire Hall is the perfect place for a baby box.
That is true.
Any other questions for Ms. Lady?
How long can it be in the box? Like, if they were actually on a call, like out of the fire department, and it's because you gave us statistics, I don't have them with me, but how long can it be in this box if a fireman wasn't there, right?
Well, what happens is whenever, like I said, whenever those alarms go off, you know, one goes off in the fire department, one goes off to the fire chief, one goes off to the 911. So 911 is calling. In Knoxville, the fire department told my husband and I, when we went over there and talked to them about what actually happened that day. They said, you know, we were in bed whenever the alarm started going off. He said, and they carry these walkie-talkie things. He said it was going off the whole time from 911. You have a baby in your box, you have a baby in your box, you have a baby. And so, you know, they were making sure that somebody was there. Now, if they weren't there, they would call them. Is this the only fire station you have here, Greg? So they would call your fire chief and someone would come back to the fire department.
Okay, this is totally not related to the baby box, but are you on the recording that's filed? Is that Monica calling you at 2 in the morning?
It was.
Because I watched that, and when I heard the call, this has been a week or so ago. I was like,
Yes, that was me. She called me at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, there's a baby in your box.
And please understand too, this is not new in Tennessee. This is new for Tennessee, but this is a program that has many locations in the United States. Came out of Indiana and went to Kentucky, and it's spread out from the heartland across the country. There's something like 250.
There's close. I'm not for sure the exact number, but
we can get that straight if you want. But there are hundreds of baby boxes, hundreds in multiple states, and there's a pattern of legislation which was presented to the Tennessee legislature that's been approved in all those states, and it's working. And there have been hundreds of babies. So weigh that out by 4 minutes of potential.
Okay, well, of course, it's not on the agenda tonight to vote on, but I'm sure we'll be in discussions. we'll put it on for a vote here in the near future.
All right, could you let us know?
Yes,
I can
ma'am,
come
I'll
back
be
and
sure. to
try to
let
answer
you
any questions.
know.
Yes,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank
so much.
you.
It's a great endeavor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next, item, our ordinance, 9.1, consider of ordinance number 748/23. An ordinance to rezone a portion of a certain real property located at 202 South Elm Avenue within the corporate limits of Erwin, Tennessee, and also known as Unicoi County, tax map 023N, Group 1, parcel 019.00, which is zone B4 to a B3 reading. And this is the first reading. Mr. Blankenship, would you like to comment on this?
What this is Mr. Brown and the Erwin Utilities Board, they've got the Elms property, they want to tear that down, build a training center. With that, they need the setbacks that go with the downtown overlay, which is B4, versus what they had in B3. We heard it out, Mr. Brown submitted all the plans to the planning commission last Wednesday. The planning commission passed it unanimously to you guys for your first reading. If it is approved, the public hearing will be August the 14th, 16th, whatever date that is.
On this overlay here, the blue showing it on Elm Street, looks like the lot actually overlaps into
It does. A lot of these buildings downtown, the Chamber of Commerce being one of them, actually goes into Main Street. It's kind of the property line does. The building itself is not gonna go there. It's gonna look a lot like Erwin Utilities.
the setback will be adequate to allow the traffic to still stay.
That was the question I had after I voted for it, and then after I left, when you imagine that, and I actually called Ryan and I said, Ryan, I think we've got a problem because you're not gonna be able, with the way that the building is proposed, you won't be able to see around that corner.
But here's where everything, guys, all you all are approving is a rezone. You're not approving a site plan, a finished construction plan. You're not approving any of that. They can't build anything, they can't pull a permit, they can't do anything unless it comes back before the planning commission. The building size and dimension doesn't have anything at all to do with the rezone. That is a completely separate issue that you have to treat as a separate issue.
They go hand in hand though, right? Because, I mean, he's asking the rezone to build that building, and what our concern is that building is gonna block the sight line.
But he will not be able to build that building until you all agree as a planning commission.
Right, it has to
on
come
that
back to
site
us,
plan.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
that would be the concern if we could bring it to him.
So if it didn't, we could stop it there.
Yeah, you all, we can negotiate that at that point.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on this ordinance?
Did we not have it corrected to start with? Why would you wanna come back and negotiate on it? Why can't we resize it now?
Because
Not to be in
you're,
the street.
guys,
I'm trying to understand.
you're just doing a rezone. We're not doing any building, construction. We're not in site plan approval phase yet. We're just in trying to change the use to see if they can even do it. If it doesn't pass this one, or if it doesn't pass your public hearing,
So you're not in the physical configuration management, you're only in the pre-plan.
right now, you're in the
He
pre-planning
has to
stage.
have it changed in order.
Right, he's
In order to go
facility
forward.
configuration, I understand.
In order to even get a building permit to tear it down and build over, he would have to submit a final site plan to the planning commission in a public hearing where everybody is in here and talks about it. And that's where that table change is made.
Okay, but it can be made.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Mullin, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn,
Yes.
Michael Baker,
Yes.
Mayor White,
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Mickey Hatcher.
Yes.
Kathy Festival.
Thank you, Mr. Mullin. Moving on to 9.2, consideration of ordinance number 749/23, an ordinance to rezone a portion of a certain real estate property located on Carolina Avenue within the corporate limits of Erwin, Tennessee, also known as Unicoi County, tax map 023N, Group Q, parcel 009.01, which is zoned R1A to R2. This is the first reading. Mr. Blankenship.
This right here is Mr. Metcalf's property on Carolina. It doesn't necessarily have a street number yet. It's in the middle of an R1 neighborhood. He is R1A. What his proposed plan is he wants to put a duplex on there. That's why we're having to take it to R2, because R1A does not allow a duplex. So it's much easier to change to R2 versus start allowing duplexes in R1A. So we did a survey of properties around what Mr. Metcalf's proposing to build is in line with anything around it from a property valuation standpoint. And again, we can't get into all that until you get to that point. So as far as the planning commission goes, they unanimously approved this one as well. So you guys feel free to debate that one.
Any other discussion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second? Alderwoman, Edwards made the motion, Dr. Hatcher seconded. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher.
Yes.
Kathy Huskins.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to 9.3, consideration of ordinance number 750-23. An ordinance to amend the municipal zoning ordinance of the town of Erwin, Tennessee, for the purpose of adding an amendment to the maximum height in all districts to Article 8 area, yard and height requirements. This is the first reading. Mr. Blankenship.
So, guys, this one was brought up due to the Elm Street School property first and foremost, but we're gonna run into that in some other areas. Once these buildings are abandoned, once they're sold, once they're changed, once you change the type of use, it becomes non-conforming. So at that point in time, the planning commission was not allowed to approve any building once they changed the use in height over 35 feet. And this building's gonna set at roughly 50 due to where it's currently at now. So Connor from First Tennessee Development District, we did some research, and all we really did was take our existing heights and we put a little asterisk by it that said this limit only applies to construction of new infrastructure. Pre-existing buildings are exempt from this height limit. So we got that one. We've got buildings downtown, anything that's 37 feet now is covered. It's not really gonna be an issue for us moving forward. Ms. Vaughn did catch a misprint in it where Amber had added R4, and we do not have an R4. So that's why you all had two different copies there.
Okay, we don't need to do no amending of the agenda or anything.
No, you're voting on the, just the 35 there.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
In the
Blankenship.
packet, I'm reviewing it.
Dr. Hatcher made the motion, and Alderwoman Edwards seconded. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to consideration of special event permits, 10.1. Consideration of special event permit for Union County Public Library for the summer reading Indian party. Mr. Muller.
Sure, and we've gone through with all the department heads, and they've all said it wouldn't be a problem for them to have this event. And they wanted to close Noah-Chucky Ave in front of the library from Union Street to the end of the search and rescue lot. And that public parking would need to be close next to the library so that they can celebrate the end of summer reading.
Okay, any other discussion from the BMA? Dr. Hatcher made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And Alderwoman Vaughn made the second. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to 10.2, consideration of special event permit for First Baptist Church of Erwin for the Vacation Bible School block party. Mr. Muller.
Sure, they're wanting to use the green space for inflatables, and it's the green space that's right next to Erwin Utilities. And yeah, it's for their Vacation Bible School block party. They want to make sure that there won't be any cars around while they do that little block party. I've already gotten this approved with all of our department heads as well.
Thank you, Mr. Muller.
We don't know that green space over there.
We do not,
So they've already secured permission on the scene.
from Erwin Utilities,
Okay.
yes ma'am.
Any other discussion?
The only thing I wanted to be aware, they did say it's a low estimate, just keep that on our radar, because they're expecting, they said 125, the year in 2019 it had 165. I'm for it, I just want us to just keep that you know, on our radar in case we need, follow-up on it.
Chief Tilson, make sure he's got the proper personnel there. Dr. Hatcher made the motion, do I have a second? Alderwoman Edwards made the second. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker. Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to appointments, 11.1, consider approval of appointing Kathy Griffin to the library board. First, it was for 6 years, but it's a 3-year term. So before I do that, I need to ask if someone would make a motion to amend the agenda for it to be 3 years. Do I need to do that, Mr. Seeley?
I think if you just amend the appointment to a 3-year period, that'd be sufficient.
Okay, so do I have a motion for an amendment for the appointment for 3 years? Dr. Hatcher made the motion and Alderwoman Edwards made the second. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Now, moving on. Consider approval of appointing Kathy Griffin to the library board for a term of 3 years to 6/30/2026.
You see the resume?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Let me get your resume.
Sure. It says retired, November 3rd.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second? Dr. Hatcher made the second. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
All right. Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards. Yes. Nikki Hatcher.
Yes.
Kathy Huskins.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Moving on to 11.2. Consider approval of appointing one, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Thank you. To the library board, again, Mr. Seeley, do I need to amend that one also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So, this is what I would like to be able to consider, to amend 11.2 to a 3-year term, to approve Mr. Juan Valvilla to a 3-year term on the board to 6/30/2026. We need to amend that to a 3-year term. So, we're not voting on it, we're just amending to a 3-year term, then we'll vote.
I make a motion to amend.
Okay, do I have a second? Dr. Hatcher, second. Mr. Muller, would you call the roll, please?
Angie Vaughn.
Yes.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes.
Paula Edwards.
Yes.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. Now, moving on to 11.2. Consider approval of appointing Juan Belva to the library board for a term of 3 years to 6/30/2026. Do I have a motion? Dr. Hatcher made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Muller, would you call the roll?
Angie Vaughn.
No.
Michael Baker.
Yes.
Mayor White.
No.
Paula Edwards.
No.
Nikki Hatcher. Kathy Huskins.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on. Also, 12.2. Our next Board of Mayor Alderman meeting is on June 10th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And is there any other business that we need to know from the BMA? I need a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.